Some women don't chase, and yet they're never forgotten. They move like shadows in the psyche of a man, haunting him long after their footsteps fade. The silence of their absence speaks louder than 1,000 words, and this silence is not emptiness. It is power, an invisible weight pressing against his unconscious mind. When a woman withdraws her gaze, something ancient stirs in him. Carl Jung would have called it the confrontation with the shadow, that dark corner of the male psyche where every fear of abandonment, every wound of rejection, and every hunger for approval has been buried. A man may never admit it aloud. But the moment she becomes unreachable, his ego begins to fracture. He is forced to face not her absence, but his own emptiness. The woman who ignores with intention is not cruel. She embodies an archetype beyond his grasp, the elusive anima, the inner, feminine that no man can fully own. When she turns her back, he projects onto her every longing, every lost memory of the nurturing he craves but cannot demand. She becomes mystery, and mystery is unbearable to the masculine ego that thrives on conquest, and yet the more he reaches, the less she offers. Here the paradox takes root. His desire sharpens, not in her presence, but in the silent void she leaves behind. To ignore him is not to disappear. It is to hold a mirror before him, one so polished that he is forced to see what he runs from, his fragile sense of worth, his addiction to validation, his desperate need to dominate what he cannot control. But there is a moment, a breaking point. The man begins to unravel. He grows restless. He tells himself he doesn't care. He distracts himself with noise, with other faces, with shallow pleasures. But in the quiet hours, her absence stalks him. The silence is unbearable, because it is not silence at all. It is her presence, living inside him, without her permission. What he resists becomes obsession. A woman who ignores does not merely step away. She seizes the hidden architecture of attachment. She knows that every pursuit dies when it is rewarded too soon. Desire survives in tension, in distance, in the wound that refuses to close. The Stoics would call it detachment. Trauma psychology would call it boundary. But Jung knew it as individuation, the ability to no longer be consumed by another's need. And here lies the secret. Ignoring. A man is not a game. It is initiation. It forces him to meet his own shadow. It demands that he recognize his projection, that he can no longer mistake her silence for weakness. In truth, it is she who holds the key, because she is no longer operating from hunger but from sovereignty. The world may call her cold. Yet what is colder than a man whose love depends only on being fed? Her silence is not ice. It is fire withheld, heat conserved, magnetism turned inward until it burns bright enough to light her own path. She is not punishing him. She is awakening herself. And this is where the story ends, or begins, depending on who is watching. He will either chase, desperate to break the silence, or he will fall into himself, forced to reckon with what her absence reveals. But she walks differently now. She no longer needs his eyes to confirm her worth, because the woman who walks away in silence isn't weak. She simply sees more.